When are we breeding our silver fox rabbits? When were these does born? How old are they now? When can you actually or should you actually breed silver fox rabbits? Does their weight actually matter when breeding? Can you breed rabbits in the winter? What did we end up naming our breeding stock and why did we name our rabbits? Let me walk you through each one of these questions as we prepare our little farm for the first baby rabbits. Just a quick update on our hutch. We've been now adding hay into our rabbits' diet. We've been doing that on and off, but I feel like it's something that they need more regularly. I'm planning on growing some of our own hay type grass in our orchard. I'm hoping to plant that this fall if all goes well, but we needed a good hay feeder before we were just throwing it at the bottom and tons would be falling in. So I ended up just bending this chicken wire to like a little half dome shape with a bottom, and then the kids couldn't just stuff the hay through the top. And it has been really great. I was worried that the holes were going to be too big and that all the hay would still fall out, but it's fine. We also supplement the rabbits with some weeds or any garden scraps that we have, carrot tops, things, etc., not the actual carrots. And we hope to be able to lower feed costs by providing our own little feed. So there are several things that you need to consider before breeding an animal, and one of their things is their health and being able to make sure their body is ready for being bred and their current living conditions and the weather. So for a silver fox rabbit, that's what we have, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. This breed, you should wait until they're 8 months old before breeding. Some may suggest that if they reach 8 pounds or 8 months, whichever comes first, but I think the general rule is you should wait till they're 8 months. This allows the does to be fully developed and ready for giving birth and just a little more mature so that they have a better chance of being good moms. If you breed your does too early, it will stunt their growth and they will be smaller. And can be dangerous for the silver fox breed because they do have larger litters, between 6 to 10 or even more sometimes kits per litter. And so if your doe has a large litter and she's smaller, she might really struggle with that delivery. And so we want the best for our rabbits, so we are definitely planning on waiting until 8 months. You currently see me doing a little chore that I do about once a month. I do scoop up the rabbit manure and pour it onto one of our berry rows. I've been doing this and I want to get each row kind of manured. And this is not a hot manure, so you can do this safely without burning your plants. When we first got our rabbits, I never weighed them. I didn't actually know how big they were. They were only 2 months in age, and so we just knew that there wasn't going to be a chance for breeding them anytime soon. It would have been nice to get a little bit older does so that we could get breeding sooner. But I really struggled finding any does, any silver fox rabbits at all. So once I found some, I jumped on the opportunity. So after not really knowing, I finally decided to get out my kitchen scale. I don't own any other scale, and it worked. We just did a bowl and zeroed out the scale and put the rabbit in, and she was definitely a little nervous about this, but it worked great. So one of our does was 7 pounds 7 ounces and one was 7 pounds 2 ounces, which was really encouraging to know that both of these does were on the right track for becoming the right size. So now I was 100% sure that by the time they were 8 months they were going to be 8 pounds. So the does are in between 5 and 6 months old, so they're breeding time would land somewhere in January. People often pause their breeding schedules when weather can be very extreme. I know in really hot climates, people don't breed over the summer. In really cool climates, people will not breed over the winter. So we're deciding on whether we want to bring the rabbits maybe in the garage during that season or have heated pads out in their hutch underneath the where the babies will be living. So we haven't decided that, and we might end up waiting until February so that the kits would be born in March where it's a little bit warmer, but we honestly still get pretty cold temperatures in March. But one thing for sure is we will definitely have spring kits. And I have this grand plan of planting a pasture mix in the orchard and then having somewhat of a rabbit tractor. If you ever heard of a chicken tractor, it's kind of the same thing but smaller and for rabbits too, so that the kits once they're weaned can live in that and be able to eat a lot from the pasture that we're going to grow. So what did we end up naming our silver fox rabbits? And why did we name them? There's a lot of people who wonder why you would name an animal that could potentially be your food. So just a note, my children will name these animals regardless of if we had decided to or not. They would have just come up with names. And that's just how they are. We've had a lot of good discussions with our children about what these animals' purposes are on our homestead. We decided to make it a fun thing and ask for some names. So our buck, his name is Ridge. Our first doe, the one that's more silvered, her name is Glacier. And the second doe, her name is Canara. I just want to see if this works. So it's dripping out.
Mom, can we play in the yard?
So that worked. Can you turn it? Oh, Rowan, can you turn it off, bud? Press it down. While I was out with the rabbits, I decided to tackle a project that had been needing to be done. I had put soaker hoses around my fruit trees to water them, and those hoses died really quick. So I would never suggest those, and I don't know if that was something I did or if it was because this area had flooded several times from our monsoon season. Anyway, so I decided to just use the tubes. The tubes were still good, and insert these little drippers. They're inline drippers, so you can just cut a slit in the tube and attach them to each side, and they drip water down. Each dripper does about anywhere between a half gallon to a gallon of water in each complete piece. Then once they get watered, I am going to weed this orchard and make it beautiful. Should we try them? I want to try one too. Does it taste?
Tastes like pickles.
Does it? You're right. But like kind of a spicy pickle. Do you like it? Rowan.
Mom.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. You'll have some more. Let's put them on a plate. You want more? I'll just stick a bunch on this plate. Do you like it?
No.
Two who do, three who do, one who does, one that doesn't. You like them, Ro? So we had temperatures that were in the low 40s a couple of nights ago, and I wandered out to our garden yesterday morning and I saw that we had a ton of frost damage and we didn't even get below 40 degrees. And I've been researching and asking around with the local people here, and there's something called a dew point, and if we have a low dew point and it's in the low 40s, we will get frosts. So our peppers and cucumbers and the few tomato plants that we have just look really bad. The peppers look the worst, which I'm really sad because there are so many peppers that are just not ready yet, and an unripe pepper just isn't as good. So I'm not really sure what we're gonna do about that. I don't know if we should just go pick them because we're gonna keep having low 40 temperatures all week, and I just feel like they're gonna keep getting more damaged. So let's go see how they look. So there is a special machine that a friend of mine said that you can purchase to be able to foresee the potential low dew points, and I might invest in that someday. For now, I think we might just end up having to cover our, cold sensitive plants once we know it's going to get below 45 degrees, which would be pretty annoying, but you do what you have to. This year, I feel like it's kind of too late, but I think in the future we will definitely be planning for that. And something else I think we should plan for is I really think we need to start our peppers sooner. They did not have enough time to grow. Our June this year was really cold, so they really didn't start taking off until about July. So with that in mind, I'm making notes on my garden journal of, okay, start our peppers a lot earlier, even though that will be more work for me in the end with potting them up. It will just give us more time. Because from our late frost that we had mid-June to our frost that we had now in September, our growing season was only 2.5 months. 2.5 months, you guys. That is not enough time to grow peppers. And so now that I've learned that, and I know also know that I could cover them, we are gonna start those a little bit earlier. Our jalapeno peppers look pretty good, and I'm definitely going to pick all of them. We actually have a ton. So I have plans for canning some cowboy candy with our jalapeno peppers, and then canning just some plain. And also, I want to dehydrate some jalapeno peppers and turn them into just like jalapeno pepper powder to add seasonings to meals. I think that would be really good, adding into soups and stews. So that will be a project for this weekend, and I really look forward to doing that. So right now we are harvesting our onion row. We actually had a whole 50-foot row of onions to harvest, and our harvest was decent. And as I was harvesting from this row, I was realizing that this row is probably the worst row that we have in our garden. It was really, really tough. Like normally when I've harvested onions, I can just pull them out from the soil, and these ones would not budge. So I did have to use my little pitchfork thing to try to lift them out of the ground. And I think that definitely hindered the size of the onions that we got. So I would say most of our onions are about medium, and then some of them are small, and then we only have a few like large sized onions. But we picked and we're saving all of the onions that we can use and eat over the winter. If you want your onions to store, you do need to let them dry out for a week or two. So I just laid down a piece of cardboard here, and I'm just gonna let them dry out in our unorganized garage. And as I was doing this, I kind of was kicking myself because I forgot to separate I have some yellow onions, like Walla Wallas, and then I had a yellow onion that was a storage variety. And as we were harvesting them, I didn't keep those two separated. So my plans were to eat the Walla Wallas and the red onions sooner because the sweet onions don't preserve for as long. And then I had a storage variety that could last for a really long time. So I did not keep track of those two. So they're all mixed together. And so we'll just do our best to eat through all of these before they go bad. In years past, what I've done, if onions start to sprout or go bad, I will dehydrate those, and definitely do that in your garage if you're going to dehydrate onions, but it's really smelly. I'll dehydrate them and just turn them into onion powder. So they don't go to waste. It's just a matter of being able to use a fresh onion for longer. So I feel good about the onion harvest, especially after seeing how rough that garden row looked. It was our first row we made clear back in the spring before we had even moved onto our homestead. We lugged our whole family, all of our gear from our rental in our van to go do that row. So it was kind of fun. And this is our cover crop row that we planted last week. So it is already sprouting up and looking great. And I just ordered another bag of the same cover crop from True Leaf Market, and I noticed that it said that the seeds are pre-inoculated, which is probably why they germinate so well. Inoculated, and you can inoculate your seeds, which is like adding a substance to them. It's kind of like a powdery stuff, and it will really boost their ability to germinate. So these seeds come pre-inoculated, so they germinate really, really well. And so I'm excited to see how these seeds do in this row that we had our onions in because of how just tough and clumpy it is. It seemed just less nutritious than all of the other rows. I'm also having to go through before I plant those seeds and dig out some of the alfalfa plants that were in there. So when I had neglected the garden a few weeks back with weeding, some alfalfa plants grew in this onion patch, and they are tough to get out. We have alfalfa fields all around us, and so I couldn't pull them out because they'd pull out my onions. So I had to just let them stay in there until it was time to harvest. So I dug those all out, got my rake out, broke up as many clumps as I could, and just raked up this dry desert soil. And as I was raking this just super dry soil, it reminded me we had visited a museum, and it talked about the people who settled this area years and years ago, and how they were told to bring a year's worth of supplies to survive in this area. And it talked about how it took several years for the people to be able to really be able to grow their own food and live here. And I feel for those people. I think about all the things that I have and it's over someone who just moved to this dry red dirt and were told to try to live here. I have much greater advantage, and it has still been a tough journey. Some things have done better than I thought, but some things have just really struggled and suffered. So it made me really grateful to be able to connect with the people of the past who, had tilled this land, who had tried to build this soil and made this place that we call home somewhere that is actually livable. So once I got the seeds all planted, I got our drip tape lined up and ready to go. The watering system was going to kick on the next morning, so I did just do a quick watering tonight. And again, just so grateful that I could have running water straight to my garden, and I did not have to rely on finding a way to get water to my garden. I've heard Jill Winger say time and time again about how gardening, doing things with your hands, doing things the old-fashioned way can really help you connect with the people in the past and bring that tradition back alive, and how amazing it actually makes you feel. And I truly felt amazing this night as the sun was setting. I was watering this soon-to-be lush green row, and how I am turning this dry, red, harsh soil into something lush green and beautiful.